When faith collides with rebellion, the battlefield is often the synagogue, the weapon, argument. For Jacob Frank, it was the public disputation, a fight for the soul of Zona Judaism. In our last episode, we explored the shocking heart of Jacob Frank's doctrine, holy through sin, an ideology that not only rejected traditional Jewish law, but actively sought to transgress it, believing salvation lay in breaking the old order. Such blasphemy, such a direct challenge to millennia of tradition, could not be ignored. The rabbinic world, guardians of Jewish law and identity, was mobilizing. When faith collides with rebellion, the battlefield is often the synagogue, the weapon, argument. But for Jacob Frank, it wasn't just argument, it was the public disputation, a fight for the very soul of Judaism, played out under the watchful, often politically motivated, eyes of Christian authority. Frank's movement, with its radical teachings and charismatic leader, was no longer a fringe curiosity. It had grown in numbers, particularly among the disaffected and those drawn to its promise of immediate spiritual liberation. Its adherents, known as Zoharists for their purported allegiance to the Kabbalistic text, were becoming increasingly provocative, openly challenging rabbinic authority and traditional practices. The mainstream rabbin, already grappling with the lingering shadow of Sabbatai Zivi's apostasy, saw Frankism as an existential threat. This wasn't just internal theological debate, it was public scandal. Decrees, known as herem, or excommunications, were issued against Frank and his followers, forbidding all contact and interaction. But these measures, instead of suppressing the movement, only served to embolden Frank, who now saw himself as a persecuted prophet, a martyr destined to overcome the old order. The stage for the first major confrontation was set in 1757 in the town of Kamianets-Podilskyi. Frank, a master strategist, understood that to challenge rabbinic authority effectively, he needed external protection. He sought and received the patronage of Dembowski, the Catholic bishop of Kamianets-Podilskyi. The Frankists, knowing the deep suspicion and animosity that existed between the Catholic Church and the Jewish community, presented themselves not as apostates, but as seekers of truth, trapped by archaic rabbinic law. The disputation itself was a spectacle. The Frankists, under Catholic protection, attacked the Talmud, the bedrock of rabbinic Judaism, portraying it as a collection of evil, superstitious teachings. Shockingly, they also leveled accusations of Jewish blood libel against the rabbinic Jews, claiming that Jews used Christian blood in their rituals. This calculated move not only demonized their opponents, but also curried favor with the Christian authorities. 2 years later, in 1759, an even larger and more significant disputation took place in Louvre, again under Catholic patronage, this time orchestrated by Archbishop Lubianski. Frank himself was now present, having been released from his imprisonment in Poland through the intervention of Catholic officials. Here, Frank escalated his claims. He asserted his messianic status, positioning himself as the true spiritual leader, the Lord, as his followers called him. He reiterated the condemnation of the Talmud, calling it perverse and contrary to the true faith. But crucially, Frank also made claims about the Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah. He argued that the Zohar, when properly understood, contained Christian truths and foretold the coming of a Messiah who would ultimately embrace the Christian faith. It was a stunning reinterpretation, designed to bridge his radical Sabbatism with the expectations of his Christian protectors, while simultaneously dismantling rabbinic authority from within. The outcome of these disputations was devastating for traditional Judaism. The rabbinic authorities were compelled to defend their faith against both internal dissent and external hostile powers. While political authorities, the rabbis vehemently denied the blood libel accusations and defended the Talmud, their arguments often fell on deaf ears within the biased Christian court. The church, seeing an opportunity to convert Jews, sided with the Frankists on key points. Frank and his followers were formally declared heretics by the Jewish community, subjected to the most severe form of cherem, a complete spiritual and social excommunication. This meant they were cut off from all aspects of Jewish life, forbidden to marry, bury, or even speak with other Jews. Yet, paradoxically, the Frankists emerged from these trials not as defeated heretics, but as protected dissidents in the eyes of their Catholic sponsors. Jacob Frank was not just a religious leader, he was an astute political operator. He masterfully leveraged the historical tensions and religious prejudices of 18th century Poland. By casting the rabbis as backward, Talmud-bound fanatics and himself as a progressive truth seeker whose teachings aligned with Christian doctrine, he turned the Christian authorities into his powerful allies. He successfully portrayed the rabbinic attempts to suppress him as persecution, not by his own people for heresy, but by a corrupt Jewish establishment resisting divine revelation. This strategic alliance was key to his survival and the growth of his movement, even as it utterly alienated him from the Jewish world. Excommunicated by the rabbis and having successfully used Christian protection to attack his former faith, Frank now stood at a precipice. The path ahead was clear, and it was a path of no return. He was forced to make a drastic choice, a choice that would sever his followers not just from Judaism, but from their very identity, a choice that promised protection and perhaps ultimate redemption, but at an immense and permanent cost. Join us next time as we uncover the astonishing act that cemented Frank's separation from Judaism and launched his followers onto a new, perilous path, their mass conversion to Christianity.